Have you heard of the ancient forbidden science of alchemy? Of its incredible, tantalizing dream of turning lead to gold? Did you know the last time a professional scientist took on a serious attempt to turn lead or other substances to gold? It ended in horrific death and disaster. It was the year 1783, and the Royal Society in London had called on one of its fellows, named James Price, to show them how he had done the impossible. After hundreds of years of attempts by failed scientists, James Price claimed that he had created gold. So with 3 other fellows gathered around him at the Royal Society University in London, James Price got to work. Then, with the final ingredients added together, disaster struck. Things did not go to plan. As many times as he tried, James was unable to reproduce his experiment. Price stood in embarrassment before his fellow scientists. And then, in one moment of sheer madness, he decided to show his small audience that while the substance he created did not make gold, it was at least safe to drink. On that fateful day, before the stunned and speechless eyes of his scientific brothers, James Price drank prussic acid and died a horrible, horrific death before them. No gold would be created in his puddled wake. This was the last time the ancient forbidden science of alchemy was practiced by scientists officially, over 238 years ago. But what if I was to tell you the practice of alchemy exists still to this day? What if I was to tell you that James Price's story was a warning for us all? Welcome to the Authentic You podcast, a mixed potato salad production. In this episode, we discuss how the dangerous principles of alchemy are still in use today, diminishing our powers in drastic and limiting ways. I'll share a true childhood story about a boy named Sergio, Chuck E. Cheese, and the worst birthday party of my life when I was only 7 years old. And we'll learn how to apply one of the most underrated and almost forgotten principles of Stoic philosophy that will change how we live each day. Lastly, we'll discuss the importance of friends, real friends, best friends, and why these friendships matter now more than ever. And don't forget, if you're interested in the concepts covered in this episode, including how to propel your career forward by unlocking the incredible and powerful authentic you, and how to transform your life by adding more passion and purpose to each of your days, enroll at the Authentic You Life Foundation's Masterclass at courses.The-Inspired.com. In Chapter 1 of the Masterclass, we cover the 2 major concepts that can lead us astray from the goal-affirming principles in our lives, plus moral truths that guide our choices, decisions, and priorities in life, and the 3 paths which, according to Aristotle, show us how to continuously apply principles and promises in our lives. Childhood can be a complex time where universal concepts can arrive unexpectedly. They can linger for the wrong reasons. And when they arrive, we can be unsure of what exactly to take from their meaning. Sometimes everything we think we wanted in life can turn upside down. Sometimes in our search for gold, we lose the true meaning. But in such moments, we can also be blessed with unexpected lessons in how we define real friendship and the paradox that comes with wealth. This is the worst birthday story ever told. Part 1. The Emerald Green Letter. One Saturday morning, when I was 7 years old, I received the invitation of a lifetime. It all started, unexpectedly, with a mysterious emerald green envelope that landed at our front door. "Goran, do you know someone named Sergio?" my mom asked after opening the strange letter, examining its contents and the name of the sender. "Sergio?" My brain processed the question as I rolled over in my white and blue Kmart karate pants with tiny karate men patterns. There was only one Sergio I knew, from school. I'd never had him over to our house, so my mom had never met him. "Yes, Mom, Sergio's the coolest kid in school. He's rich. Everyone wants to be his friend." "Goran, well, it looks like Sergio has just invited you to his birthday party," Mom said, somewhat excited, but kind of not. "It's in 2 weeks, and it's at Chuck E. Cheese." "Where a kid can be a kid?" I said, jumping off the ground. Back in the 80s, it was fun to memorize the TV commercials, the songs, especially the Saturday morning ones, because they told you about all the new and great toys you should buy and how much fun you'd have playing with them, if you could afford them. I continued to jump in excitement. Chuck E. Cheese was the Disneyland of birthday temples for kids, the Taj Mahal of kid fun, but it was a place we couldn't afford to visit, because for us, it cost too much. "Would we have to pay to go?" I asked, not sure of what my mom would say. Mom and Dad had taken me to Chuck E. Cheese once, but we had a small budget and couldn't stay very long, like the rich kids did. And once you ran out of tokens, it wasn't much fun watching the other kids play. "The invite also says pizza, drinks, and games, all included, Gorani." But something seemed wrong. There wasn't any enthusiasm in my mom's eyes. A day of Chuck E. Cheese for free. This truly was a gift from the heavens. What could possibly go wrong? But I looked at my mom's face again, and there was that look of puzzlement. Yes, it was true. Sergio invited me, of all people, to his fancy big birthday party. Yes, it made no sense. Sergio was A-list. He was funny, cool, confident. He had the best toys, the newest clothes, the sports gear, Italian football shirts, Nike, Adidas. Sergio's family was from Italy, southern Italy, and they had just moved over a few years earlier. If you thought about it, Sergio actually didn't seem very bright or very nice, and he didn't really know how to speak English very well. It was hard to understand even half of what he said, but for some reason, it didn't matter. Everyone knew him, followed him. Wherever he went during lunchtime or recess, he was one of the cool kids, and I was not. But she continued asking me how I really knew Sergio, if I knew him even at all, and why he'd never come over if he's such a good friend. But I explained it was because Sergio's family was really busy. They ran a bakery and they had lots of businesses, and he just didn't have that much time. My mom seemed confused. Yes, of course I still wanted to go. It would be amazing if I could go. The pizza, the prizes, the toys, and something else. Something more important than all these things. I realized in that moment, what if, just maybe, this was Sergio's way of saying he wanted to be friends? Yes, that had to be it also. I knew in that moment Sergio wanted my friendship. After all, I'd never invite someone to my birthday unless I really liked them. Birthdays were the most important day of the year, outside of Christmas. Later that night after dinner, with my dad asleep on the couch, my mom quietly said to me that she would take me. She would chaperone and supervise my birthday party invite. I thanked my mom, jumping for joy, waking my dad, hugging my mom, and strangely, she hugged me back extra tight. As I readied for bed that night, counting down the days, I knew in that moment this was going to be the greatest birthday party of my life. Part 2. The Birthday Party. For those who've never been and don't know, Chuck E. Cheese is the Las Vegas for kids. It's a miniverse of wall-to-wall arcade games, mini bowling, basketball, and other amusements designed to overwhelm the senses. It was a galaxy of perfectly placed, multicolored visuals and mechanical bells and beeps and alerts. It was also a place of laughter and voices, both real and manufactured, of life-sized robotic rats and birds, and parents praising spoiled children. There was no admission for entry, but somehow all of it was expensive. All games were fueled by coveted, shiny rat-faced circular tokens provided by a parent's hard-earned wages. 3 silvery tokens were available for every $1, with most games requiring 2 or more tokens. This place was Willy Wonka at the horse races, designed for children to run the roost and to keep betting, with the unspoken game at hand of who would win the most. 2 weeks after receiving the emerald green invite, we arrived at Chuck E. Cheese, nervous, excited, and 30 minutes late. We walked through 2 high glass doors into a manufactured heaven. "Sergio!" I hollered, expecting Sergio to be waiting there, near the entrance door. But Sergio wasn't there. "Sergio, we're here! It's Goran and my mom!" I said again, as if it meant something, as I watched robotic angels playing their harps and walking on clouds in the distance. We waited at the glass front entrance for what felt like an excruciating hour, but in truth was only a long minute. An exhausted host limped over to the entrance podium. The host thanked us for coming, but didn't seem to mean it, and then rushed us down a swirling hallway, past the games and noise, and into a large theater with gigantic, robotic-sized Chuck E. Cheese and all of his best friends on a small, narrow stage right near our table. "This is your section," the host said, pointing to our decorated tables. "We have our own table?" I said, never experiencing reservations before. In our household, we always ate at home. "No, not just that table, all these tables," the host said, gesturing to all 4 groups of long tables that sat 12 or more each, side by side, saying in large font, "Sergio's birthday party." "Whoa, is there 1 million people invited?" I joked, closer to the truth than I realized. "And can I wear a birthday hat now? And take a balloon?" "Yes, take a hat. And not 1 million, more like 50. Most are here already. But please leave the balloons for now. We find they can be a bit of a choking hazard." "Okay," I said, not really understanding. "The party you're with are all mostly here, and they're playing in the ball zone. You should go join them over there." The host turned to his right and pointed back over my shoulder to the holy temple within temples inside Chuck E. Cheese's walls. The Chuck E. Cheese experience, its centerpiece, no, its masterpiece, was the ball zone. A small pool-sized wonderland of multicolored plastic balls 3 feet deep that kids could jump and play in, surrounded by a mesh net and monitored by a ball zone lifeguard. This lifeguard had the important task of only allowing 100 children at any given time into the ball zone. I shouted and tugged on my mother's arm as we headed over. There were over a dozen kids playing and frolicking and jumping up and down within the ball zone. But the strange thing was, I only recognized a few of them. None of them were really Sergio's friends. So I wondered, for a brief, inconsequential moment, why they were there. "Sergio!" I said, spotting Sergio in the ball zone, throwing my shoes off into a large pile at the entrance, jumping into the ball zone, waving my hands in the air the way a traffic cop would if they'd just caught you speeding. I looked back at my mom for approval, but noticed for some reason she'd bent down and already had collected my shoes and had moved them near her feet, as if she was preparing for something I still couldn't see. "Hey, happy birthday, Sergio!" I shrieked, turning back towards Sergio as I waddled through the plastic balls, feeling a little less enthusiastic, but not sure why. Sergio glanced over, then looked away, as if he didn't want to see me. But that couldn't have been it. Sergio probably just didn't notice me. Sergio's so cool, he was just super busy. So I jumped even closer, only 3 feet away from the birthday boy, now shouting, "Sergio, happy birthday, this is great! Thanks for inviting me to your birthday! This is the best birthday invite ever!" But my voice swerved and bellowed, weakening in confidence before my conscious brain could even understand why. Like a time traveler flying through a wormhole to witness his own unexpected future. "Oh, hey," Sergio said with no excitement, only half looking over and then jumping away, throwing some balls at another Italian kid. I was confused. He didn't seem happy to see me. He didn't even see me at all. "Sergio, thanks again for inviting my mom and I to your birthday party," I repeated, not sure of what I was saying. Sergio stopped and seemed annoyed. "You?" Sergio said from the back of his throat. "My mom said I had to invite everyone, not just you. We invited everyone from school, and our neighbors, and my dad's business partners too. Mom said we had to, because it's good for business." "Oh," I said, unsure of what to say next, feeling a lot less special. Disorientated, rejected, I fell backwards into the plastic balls, failing to disappear. I looked towards the exit. My mom had moved closer to the mesh of the ball zone, out of earshot, but was watching it all unfold. She had that look on her face. I knew that look, and I didn't like it. "Oh, and one last thing. You don't have to shout when you talk to me. What are you, deaf or stupid or something?" Sergio then shouted at his minions, raised his arm in the air, and declared that he wanted to leave the ball zone immediately. A posse of followers took their cue, departing out of the mesh. Like a mindless horde, one brutish kid pushed me out of his way. His shoulders bumped against mine without apology, as if I wasn't there. Left in the ball zone was just me and 2 other kids. They both looked as awkward as I. Then I clenched my jaw, but was unsure as to why. Sergio had invited everyone? Or his mom did? I took a deep breath, looking down and not wanting to be there. And then it hit me. As I spoke, almost whispering to myself out loud, Sergio didn't even know I was coming to his birthday. "Gorane, jump around," my mom said, clapping and trying to get my attention. "Have some fun. Come on, play." But I stood half fallen, motionless, frozen, embarrassed, feeling like the spotlight was on me and I'd forgotten all my lines. I'd arrived in a place of disappointment and rejection, to a place I'd never visited before, a place I thought couldn't possibly get any worse, until it did. "Gorane, come out of there right now," my mom said with concern. "Let's go play in the bowling alley. It will be more fun. You'll like it. You'll love it, like last time." I pulled myself out, but realized the bowling, the games, the prizes, the birthday invite, the pizza and the pop and the cake, none of it really mattered. The thing I had hoped for most was something money could never buy. It was genuine connection, a real friendship, from someone I thought I admired. But we decided to stay on and make the most of our time. I wouldn't see much of Sergio or his devotees as I played alone and with my mom. 1 or 2 hours went by, and the things I had looked forward to, the colorful cones Chuck E. Cheese birthday hat I'd put on a long time ago, was now pinching at my skull. The bells, the music, the sirens were all just noise, endless noise shrieking in my ears. Game after game after game and endless tokens and winner tickets left me feeling tired and not all that satisfied. But we stayed because in staying I was doing this for myself. But I couldn't have been more wrong. Then we learned it was pizza, cake, and presents time, as parents and the host tried pulling children away from the arcades and other games. And even though some had played for hours without a break, some children screamed for just one more round. Addiction, they say, is doing something so many times the act becomes increasingly bad for your health. Pulled back to reality, we zigzagged to our special reserved tables to eat, drowning ourselves in copious amounts of fizzy sugary drinks and pizza and cake. I had made my sobering peace long ago. Sergio didn't care about becoming my friend. He didn't even know I'd be coming at all. But this revelation, as sad as it made me, was not what had created this, the worst birthday party of my life. It was what would happen next. Wishes made and cakes consumed. As his dominion of loyal followers watched on, it was now finally time for Sergio to open a growing mountain of shiny gifts and boxes with extravagant bows wrapped in a kaleidoscope of gold and silver hues. The presents filled an entire table and spilled onto the wooden chairs and the casino print floor. As Sergio opened gift after gift, mouth gaping in sheer joy, my mom and I noticed something alarming. Every single toy that Sergio opened was more tremendous than the previous. He received Transformers and G.I. Joes and entire toy train sets. It was the cream of the crop in gifts, 100 birthdays worth, rolled into one. These were expensive gifts, all of them. Gifts that my mom and I just couldn't afford. A few days before, after a long time of searching the department store aisles, we found just the right gift. It was a medium-sized bag of World War II Army soldiers, which came in fighting positions perfect for playing. We knew it wasn't much, but if you were creative, it would be all any child would need for hours on end. But we also bought these soldiers because it was a compromise. It was all my mother could afford to spend. "Who is this from?" Sergio said, grabbing our birthday gift. There was no card attached. The card that had my personalized handwritten note, which said how much I appreciated his invite and how much this was the best birthday ever, must have fallen to the floor. I wanted to shout and say it was from us, but for some reason, I stopped myself. I said nothing. As Sergio slowly started opening the gift, I wondered, maybe I should tell him. Yes, I should, because Sergio would still appreciate the thought. He would appreciate the effort. But as I stepped forward, leaning over the table, trying to get an audience, putting my hand into someone's unfinished plate of half-eaten white frosting cake, Sergio ripped the wrapping paper and lifted the bag into the air for all to judge and see. Then, for a split second, he stared motionless, looking at the nameless gift, at the green army soldiers, all twisted up, confused in the plastic wrap bag. And he did what I never imagined possible at a birthday party. Sergio began to laugh. A deep, low, dark, rolling laugh, with sharp bits at each end, from some place more ancient than him. But that wasn't all. This, he decided, was something he had to share with others. Sergio lifted the small bag of green soldiers even higher into the air and shouted, "Look, what a cheap gift!" Silence filled the room, but only for a bright, twinkling instant, until the unthinkable happened. A cold supernova ignited, destroying everything in its path. A moment, if one somehow survives, one never forgets. In that moment, Sergio's mom began to laugh in encouragement. Then she looked at her friends and family, and they started to laugh too. Then the children laughed, and some other parents did. Almost everyone at the birthday was laughing. at us. My stomach burped and churned from the processed cheese and cake and sugary drink consumed just moments before. I looked up at my mom, who remained frozen in disbelief and embarrassment. Sergio, realizing the card had gone missing, shouted over the laughter, "Who bought us this stupid gift?" But no one said a word. It felt like a public shaming, because it was. Of the rich over the poor, of the powerful over the weak, of the cruel over the kind. Butterflies or moths danced inside my stomach. I stayed frozen, not noticing the emerald green icing slopping and dripping in small chunks from my elbow and forearm, trying to escape, falling in desperation to the floor. Sergio looked at me for an instant, then looked away, continuing his laughter. Knowing probably it was me, or maybe not, throwing the soldiers back into the box, shaking his head and his thick black hair as he moved on to whatever was next. Overwhelmed, I slipped back at first, grabbing my mom's leg for comfort, then maneuvering behind her, and then, once out of sight, I bolted in agony to the washroom, where I began to cry. A deep, sobbing cry. "Do you want to leave now?" My mom had followed me to the bathroom, but did not enter, standing near the entrance and shouting, not caring if anyone else heard because she knew her child was in pain. Red-faced and in shock, I put my hand into hers. "Yes, Mom, please," I said, pulling on my nose with one free hand, with green icing now on my shirt. "I want to go home." And now some concluding thoughts and some hard lessons we learn in life. The hard lessons we learn in life include this: choose your friends wisely. The pandemic has highlighted the little things that we knew all along, the little things that we knew mattered the most. Friendships form, build, and grow slowly over time through the sharing of time, ideas, and experiences. The greatest of friendships are forged when we're brave enough to tell someone what's really going on inside, creating lifelong bonds of trust, respect, and connectedness. The greatest of wealth was never in the alchemy of forcing lead into gold. It was in seeing a thing for what it was, beautiful and brave in its imperfections and its willingness to be real and raw. The alchemy of it is, true friends can never be created from false truths. The material things he lusted over, his desire for fame, were Sergio's true vices. Sergio and his mom and those who followed were shallow and materialistic. They were cruel and they were unkind. So how do we learn to apply an almost forgotten but incredibly practical concept from Stoic philosophy that will change how we live each day? It's by acknowledging the truth that there are many of us who still practice alchemy today, in the vices of money and power and fame. It never went away. But we can learn and take in these lessons that to live our authentic life means to live a virtuous life, and that opposite of virtue is vice. This is demonstrated in the flaunting of wealth, the hunger for fame, the constant need to be first, the disregard for basic human decency, and in my own false derived expectations for what that green emerald letter might have meant. The ancient Stoic Zeno of Citium believed vice was the opposite of virtue, and that by choosing to live a good life using reason, we would each align with Logos, or the nature of the universe. Zeno would have seen the falseness of Sergio's friendship, his hunger for popularity and fame, and his extravagance of wealth, as living contradictory to the rational thought, against a virtuous or moral way, and being in contradiction of nature itself. It's not shameful to want a good life, but to live in excess will always leave us wanting more. But thanks to the philosophy of Stoicism, we can learn and know what real friendships are today, and we can learn what friends to avoid and which parties to never attend. and we can learn not to ever be impressed by those attempting to impress us through their money, through their shiny new things, for those poor souls lack in wealth of mind and heart, something paradoxically that money can never buy. If you'd like to dig deeper on these topics, and that of how to define what real friendships mean to you, Chapter 10 on personal growth within my Life Foundations Masterclass includes strategies which breaks down the ideas and principles behind the worst birthday of my life, and it offers us a better approach. There is also a worksheet assignment with 16 of the most important philosophical questions we must ask ourselves as we journey through life, as we set goals and unravel what personal growth really means to us. If you'd like to enroll in the Life Foundations Masterclass, you can do so at courses.the-Inspired.com. And if you'd like to show your support for this podcast, there is a Patreon link that you can click on within the description that will take you to my Patreon page and the 3 membership levels that I have set up. A VIP backstage access, a Welcome to Fight Club access, and your private VIP room. There's unique benefits for each level, which is most definitely not legal. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.